Hello everyone, this video is totally based on the topic of the appendicular skeleton. In the previous lecture, we had already studied about the axial skeleton. Now it's time to understand about the appendicular skeleton, which involves the limbs, basically the forelimbs and the hind limbs. So the limbs contains 30 bones. So each limbs, if you count the number of limbs and the bones that is present in the limbs, there are number of 30 bones total in the forelimbs and the hind limbs. So starting with the bones of the forelimbs, that means of your hand. So the first one is the humerus bone, second one is the radius and another name is the ulna. Third one is the carpal, that is the number of bone is the 8. Fourth one is the metacarpal, that is there is the number of metacarpal in the forelimb is 5. Fifth one is the phalanges, that means there are 14 phalanges bones in the forelimbs. So repeating once, the first one is the humerus, that is the longest arm bone that is present in the forelimb, radius and ulna. Carpal, there are 8 carpals bone. Then the metacarpal, there are 5 metacarpals bone, and last one that is phalanges, it means there are 14 phalanges bones. Now the next topic is about the bones of the hind limbs, that means the bones of the legs. So the first one is the femur. The femur is the longest bone that is present in our leg, that means from our from our waist to the leg. So the longest bone is the femur, and the second bone that is the fibula and the tibia. Third one is the tarsal, there are 7 tarsal bone present in the hind limbs. Fourth one is the metatarsal. There are 5 bones, and last one is the phalanges. It's same as for the forelimbs and the hind limbs, so there are 14 phalanges. So starting with the topic of the bones of the forelimbs, so we have already known about the 5 name, and the bones of the hind limbs, so there are also 5 types of bones with their numbers, but there are something more rather than these types of bone. So we all know that there are kneecaps that is present between the femur and the fibula. So there is kneecap, and the kneecap is known by the name of the patella. And there are some girdles, basically the 2 types of girdle, that one, first one is the pectoral and the second one is the pelvic. So they articulate the limbs with the axial skeleton, and each girdles is composed of 2 halves. The first one is the pectoral girdles. So talking about the topic of the pectoral girdles, it consists of the collarbone and the scapula. So the pectoral girdles composed of 2 types of bone, that one, first one is the collar and second one is the scapula. And this collarbone is also known by the another name, that is the clavicle. Now talking about the pelvic, so pelvic is, it has the 2 coxal bone formed by the fusion of ilium, ischium and pubis. Now something more about the pectoral girdles. So the scapula that is present, the scapula bones that is present in the pectoral girdles has a rectangular flat bone with a slightly elevated ridge that is called the spine. So it is basically a triangular flat bone and the slightly elevated ridge, that is also known by the name that is called the spines, and projecting as a flat expanded process that is also known by acromion. And this collarbone articulates with the acromion. Now below acromion, a depression called the glenoids cavity is also present, and here the humerus articulates to form the shoulder joint. Now the another one, that is the pelvic girdles. We already know that it has been formed by the fusion of 3 types of bones, that is the first one is the ilium, ischium and the pubis. And here the acetabulum is cavity that is formed at the point of fusion of these 3 bones, where the thigh bones articulates, and 2 halves of this pelvis girdle meets ventrally to form the pubis symphysis. And this pubis symphysis also contains some fibrous cartilage So this was all about the introduction of the appendicular skeleton that involves the bone of the forelimbs and the bones of the hind limbs, and something more about the girdles, that means the pectoral girdles and the pelvic girdles. So in the next part of the video we will understand about the joints and the disorder of the musculoskeletal system. So till then, thanks for watching this video.